So let's proceed on with the next question, which is problem number one. The name of the problem is twosome. Let's understand the question. Given an integer of given an array of integers, okay, nums. Nums is given, which is an array. An integer target return indices of two numbers such that we have to return the indices of two numbers from the array nums such that they add up to the target. Okay. You can assume that each input would have exactly one solution. Okay. And you may not use the same element twice. You can return the answer in any order. Let's understand with example. 2, 7, 11, 15 is the nums array. The target is 9. We have to return 9. So what can we add so we can get 9? Obviously 2 plus 7 is going to give us 9, right? We have to add this 2. So what is going to be the index position? 0, comma 1. Now let's look over here. We have to get 6. The elements are 3, 2, 4. What we have to add? 3. That is 2 plus 4. That is 0, 1 and the second index. Okay. Now 3, comma 3. That's basically the first and the second element. Okay. That is 0th index and the first index. So it can be solved firstly by brute force. Let's do the brute force technique over here. So brute force is basically very much easy. Okay. Let's say 2, 7, 11, 15. Okay. Select the first element, you compare it with this, add it with up with this, add it up with this. Get the solution. 2 plus 7 is 9, right? So we have returned the indices that is 0, comma 1. But what if the question was 2, comma 11, comma 7, comma 15? Firstly, you would have gone to the first iteration. 2 is going to be compared with 11. Then it's going to be compared with 7. Then it's going to be compared with 15. What if the target was, I would say, 11 plus 7? What if the target was this? So for this, in the first iteration, what our target was 18. We didn't get 18 over here, right? No solutions, right? So now select the second element, this one. Now you're not going to go back since we have already compared with 2 and 11, right? So first, it's going to be 11. It's going to be compared with 7. It's going to be added with 7, basically. So 11 plus 7 is 18. So we're going to return the answer. So that's our first approach. Let's code this out. Okay. So firstly, we're gonna need two loops since we are going through brute force. So for I, then range of length of nums. What is length of nums over here? 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So we're gonna do through 3 iteration. We're gonna stop just before the length. Okay. Now inside the loop, for j in range of I plus 1, comma length of nums. Okay. For j in range of length for j in range of I plus 1, okay, not 1 plus 1, I plus 1, we're going to start from the second element, that is the first index, okay, 0 plus 1 as the first element. That's what we're doing, right? And we're going to go till the length of nums. This is 4, but we're going to stop at 3, right? Now, if nums of I, if nums of I plus nums of j, okay, if nums of I and if nums of j is equals to target, then we're gonna return I comma j. As simple as that, right? That's what we have to return. We have to return those two indices. If this plus this equals to 9, then return those indices. That's what we are doing, right? If there is no such pair, then come out of all the loops and just return an empty list. Case 1 accepted, case 2 accepted, case 3 accepted. Okay. So time and the space complexity, if you look at this, it's gonna be O(n) square is basically, since we are going through two nested loops, so obviously the input is gonna be two times, and space complexity is O(1). No extra data structures are used, right? And we're just using a few integer variables for indices and the return list. So there is constant space, right? So O(1). Now this method is using basically two pointers. We're gonna discuss it ahead. Hash map is two pass. We're gonna do it with the one pass. Okay. We're gonna do it with the help of one pass. Okay. So let's write the code and let's try to understand it. Okay. Now let's start with one pass. Okay. So what's the code over here? Firstly, we're gonna do previous map is equals to curly braces. Okay. Previous map is equal to curly braces. What we are basically doing is this creates an empty dictionary. We are creating an empty dictionary, which is the hash map. It will store the key and the value pairs. The key here, the key basically, I'll write it with the help of a comment over here. So it's basically easy for you to understand. The key over here, the key over here will be a number which we have already processed. Okay, which is the value. Okay, and a value over here will be that number's position index. Let's say I'll go over here. Let's say 2, 7, 11, 15. Now it is going to be stored in previous map. Okay. So let's take 2 over here. 2 is going to be the key. The value is going to be the index. What is the index? 0. 7 going to be 1. 11 is going to be 2. 15 is going to be 3. Right? This is previous map. But let's try to understand it in a much more better way. Okay. So previous map is done. Okay. So now we have to loop through the list. Okay. So what we have to do is for I comma n, that is key comma value, you can say, or I comma n, enumerate. We're going to use the dictionary method over here, you can say, and nums. We're iterating through that list. Okay. We're making this as a key value pair. Okay. I is basically the index position of the current number starting at 0, and n is the value, the actual number of that position. Okay. Let's try to understand that. For I comma n and enumerate, I'll just copy out the code and I'll paste it over here so you can understand it. Okay. Do sum. Okay. The code is right. Don't get scared. We'll discuss everything. Previous map done. For I in range, enumerate nums. Understood, right? So what is basically difference is equal to target plus n. Let's try to understand this line of code. What's the code over here? Target minus n. What is the target? 9. Now understand this. Let's say there are two numbers, n1 and n2. N1 plus n2. Okay. So we just have to find the complement. Okay. So let's say we're gonna shift it over here. Some shifting is gonna happen. Okay. What are we shifting? Target minus n. What is the target? 9. I'm gonna shift this n2 over here. 9 minus n2 is equals to n. That's what we want, right? 7 plus 2 is equals to 9. So n2 has been shifted. So when we select the first element, that is 7, we have to search for the second element. Like, where is it? What's the index position? Is it present in the previous map? If it's present in the previous map, return that index position. Okay. If it is not present, now go to the next element. Okay. That's what we are doing. Difference is equal to target minus n. Target is basically 9 over here. N for this time, n is gonna be first iteration, n is gonna be 2. Okay. N is gonna be 2. Now difference, how much is it? 9 minus 2 is how much? 7. Difference is 7. F7 in previous map. F7 in previous map. F7. Let's copy out this code. I'll just replace the variable names with those, I would say. Let's copy out the code. I'll make you understand the code in a much more easier way. Okay. This thing has been understood. For I comma n and enumerate difference is, what is difference? We are gonna assume 7, this example over here, and the first iteration. What's the first iteration? 2 comma 7. Okay. Difference. What is the target? Target is 9. What is the first n which we are getting in the first iteration? Look at this. 2. Okay. 2. 9 minus 2. How much are we gonna get? 7. Right? So what does difference become? 7. If difference, if 7, if number 7 in present is previous map, but previous map is right now empty. So we're gonna return if difference in 7 previous map. No, it is not present. So what are we gonna do? Previous map of n as the number, right? N as the number is equals to I. We're gonna add this number. We're gonna add this number, okay, to the previous map. Let's go on to the next number. What's the next number? 7, right? Now this was target, right? Target is 9. Now what is this? 7. This was difference. Now what does difference become? Difference is 9 minus 7. F2. Now we need 2. F2 is in previous map. S2 in previous map. Previous map, previous map, previous map. S2. Yes, we added 2, right? We added 2 in the last statement. We added 2. So 2 is already there in the previous map, right? We added in the first statement over here. So we're gonna return the previous map difference. That is, difference is previous map difference comma I. We're gonna return the index position of that particular, that 2 of previous map. What is the value? What is the, so this is gonna become 2. Remind you, 2 is the key over here, and the value is gonna be the index position. The previous map of 2. What is the index position and that particular string over here? That is 0. Okay, that's 0. And what is I? For I comma n and enumerate nums. Okay, what is I for this particular 7? 0. Not 0, 1. So what are we gonna get after we access this previous map of 2? Previous map of 2 was obviously 0. So we're gonna get 0 comma 1. So that's what we are basically doing over here. Okay. Now we look at the time and the space complexity over here. We are depending on the input, right? We're depending on the input, we're storing it in the previous map and space complexity on, right? I'll try to make you understand once more. Get it, okay? Previous map, value and index. Value over here is basically the number. Index is basically the index position and that particular list, okay? For I comma n, key comma value and enumerate nums, we're gonna map through each and every element. Difference is how much? We don't know it yet. Target is how much? 9. Target is 9 minus 2. Difference becomes 7. Now, right now, the list is empty because we're starting the program. F7 in previous map. F7 in previous map. No, it is not in previous map. It is empty. Okay. So now we're gonna store it. Okay. Now what is n? What is n? N is basically the value. What is the value? Value is basically the number from the list. What is the number? 2. And what index position? 0. right? So two, at two key, we're gonna store the value that is what it is, 0, right? Now we're gonna go through it again. Now we are gonna go to the second element, okay? Go to the second element. Now target is still 9. The element now becomes 7. It becomes 7. So 9 minus 7 is how much? 2. F2 in previous map. We have stored it, right? F2 in previous map. 2 in previous map. We're gonna return the previous map number, that is previous map 2 comma I. Right now I is 1. So it's gonna be 0 comma 1. And time and space complexity is gonna be 0 and on since we are just doing it for a single for loop. Okay, so this was the solution for the first problem, and we're gonna do the 2 pointers and the later part of the playlist. So right now we have just discussed brute force and the hash maps. Okay,